Public meeting after the relocate, and that will be one of the few places in the city that can afford to do it because we have electricity and water and everything. May we have please the quote?
Yeah, what you?
Yeah, the quote. Yeah, we have a quote.
How many?
There are 17 of it right now. Okay. Thank you. Okay. And you know the whole secret we turned upside down. So we are going to change a little bit the agenda right now. And because our employees did such a fabulous job, they've been here like 48 hours around the clock. Many of them came in Sunday evening. They did not leave until Wednesday morning. They slept here. They were in 2 apartments that are empty. They had they came with camping gear, basically. They brought their own blanket, whatever, sleeping bags. I'd like us to have a small motion that Andrea is going to move, basically thanking them. And I guess we'll give it to the board, and maybe we can present it at the board meeting so it can go into the board minutes, which everybody will see. So, Andrea?
Move that MGCA express a heartfelt thank you to all MHHC employees, members of the public safety staff, 32 BJ porters and handymen, and engineers who demonstrated dedicated service to MHHC shareholders and property before, during, and after Storm Sandy.
You need a second?
Yes. Sure.
Okay. I don't know.
Exactly. Okay. First, I'd like the delegate and chair to vote. We are going to have like an unusual 2 votes. First, I'm asking only the delegate and chair to vote. Then I'd like everybody else to vote, because I think this is a motion that really represents all of us. So first, may I have the voting body vote, please? Okay. Everybody for it. Anybody against? Abstention?
I'm going to abstain. Could I explain?
No abstention. Thank you. 1 abstention. Okay. Now I'm asking everybody to vote, please. Everybody in the room that is for the motion, please raise your hand with your delegate or a...
And the liaison.
And let your
Okay. Anybody abstention? Any abstention? You are voted in once. You can vote once. Okay, everybody but Robert. Okay, thank you. And now I'd like to invite President Lawrence Zadona to present us the flash report. And I must say that when I saw it posted yesterday, I was really impressed. I couldn't believe that they would get it out under these conditions.
Thank you, Tova.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to begin with Tropical Storm Sandy, because insurance pays 100% on a tropical storm and not on a hurricane. Did you know that? I found that out tonight. I found that out tonight, that the governors turned around and made the federal government declare it a tropical storm.
Really?
Yeah. And that by doing that, all those homeowners will be paid 100%.
Oh, excellent.
Now, remember, water has a different meaning, but where they had to pay, they're going to pay 100%, which is an amazing thing. That's 70%.
By the federal government?
The federal government named a tropical storm, which makes the insurance companies have to pay.
I see.
Is that clear?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So I will begin with this event, because this is the most important event that we have had so far. And this is nothing like last year. This is a very different situation. Now here's what I will tell you. That we have a fabulous team here. Russell Jamine, the general manager, Tom Gerbino, and Vincent Montalvo, fabulous. And I'll tell you how this falls out. On Friday afternoon, Russell had a meeting of the entire staff. 32 BJ guys. He gave them a good talk, and for the first time in my memory, all the 32 BJ guys came to work on Sunday night. And they were prepared to stay here for the 48 hours. That has not happened. I have always heard that they would never show up, and they did. The entire safety staff was here. And Tom Giardino was here for the full run from Sunday night until the storm ended, because he had to make sure that the shareholders would not suffer 1 minute of discomfort if the weather dropped down. He maintained it, and he maintained it continuously until an event took place. And the event is RCN. This is the second time in 4 months or 5 months that RCN has gone down. The last one they credited to sabotage. That's not my problem. This one they credit to the tropical storm. The problem is that RCN provides 2 things to us of great importance. The phone lines to the public safety control booth and the internet for our heating system, BMS. So during the night, during I think the second 24 hours or after, the entire system came down because Tom could not control it. But he still stayed here because he was going to stay here to make sure that whatever had to be done, and I have a report to tell you about that. So those 3 people are a fabulous team. And I am really happy they are here. It makes a difference. Everything ran well, and here's what happened. Friday night, you had the pep talk. Saturday, I was away, Russell was away. Saturday night, I came back, and you received at 10:30, or 11:30, Yvonne and I finished running the yellow, the goldenrod that I put out to you. That should have come out like within minutes, but you know they had not reached full men on duty, so they had called in somebody just to do my mailing, which you got by 3 o'clock in the morning. I think that was the last apartment. So I was back Saturday night. And then I didn't think that Russell would be in on Sunday. But Russell Germain was here on Sunday, a whole day. And what did he do? He double-checked, as he says, as Ronald Reagan said, accept but verify. I think that's the words to qualify. He verified that every single thing had been done. Drains had been cleared. He went on the rooftops. He touched every railing. Every temporary railing was touched and pushed and shoved, and everything was fine. He stayed until about 5 o'clock, and then he left. Monday, of course, he wasn't here. Tuesday, he was back. He came in through Lincoln Tunnel with nobody. I said to him, how did you get here? Would you helicopter in? No, I came through the Lincoln Tunnel. I said, that's open? Yeah, that was open. So he was here Tuesday, and he's been here every day.
Part of it.
Well, no, the Lincoln Tunnel was open. The Lincoln Tunnel was open. So he was here from Tuesday on. Monday was the only day he wasn't here. And it was fabulous. It was fabulous that we had that kind of overview and supervision. And he said, I had to be here Tuesday. I said to him, why'd you come in today? We really had it under control. He said, I had to be here because I can't let the men think that their leader is not going to be here. You got to lead by example. So if they're here, you got to be here. I said, it's fabulous, fabulous. I love that attitude. So what happened during the storm was the following. The winds reached anywhere from 75 to 90 miles an hour.
On this development?
In Manhattan. From 75 to 90 miles an hour. We don't know because we can't read it because BMS is still down. Because we record the wind speed. We have
Because you did lose, I know, a big tree.
Well, I'm going to tell you a lot more than that. So we know it reached a tremendous number because I can tell you why. And I believe me, I got phone calls all night Monday from different people. I thought I wasn't going to have a moment's peace. I didn't go to sleep till about 2 o'clock in the morning because I figured, okay, the big thing's going to happen. We're going to lose power. That was my big thing, right? So what happened somewhere during the night, Monday night, the wind was so strong that except for building 4 and 5, who have temporary railings up, but the whole building is secured in one gigantic secured square. In the other buildings, it wasn't secured the same way because there was pieces of new railing, old railing, it was different things. So here's what happened. During the night, the wind became so strong that it blew the top off, literally blew the top off the deck between buildings 1 and 6. Just lifted it up and blew it over and knocked down a whole lamppost. You can see the lamppost is laying on the ground. In addition, it disturbed the railings that were secured, that Russell had checked. And we were all certain it was going to last. But nobody expected 75 to 90 mile an hour winds. And there's no way, it wouldn't have mattered what they did. It was something had to give. So the railing in building 6, a huge section, 5, 6 sections, came off the building, fell down along the balcony line A, and crashed into the 15th floor kitchen window. Bedroom windows. Sorry, bedroom window. Our guys were there immediately. Tom had it under control, we were there. We told the people to stay out of the window, away from the window, because we couldn't even tape the window, because we couldn't be sure that if we went to the window, that the wind would not move it again and crack the window as it's being taped and then cause harm to individuals. So we asked them to stay away from it, and we warned all the people in the building. Then in other places, individual sections, there was another place in building 6, a section fell down in front of a window but didn't go through. There was another place where the section fell off the roof, I think it was in building 6, and went through apartment MB, the window. There was another place where a section fell off and took out an air conditioner. Somebody's air conditioner knocked it right down. 2 of them actually happened. And then the more amazing thing that I found out this week was that we have an 8-ton air conditioning unit sitting in the elevator room where the electrical stuff is to keep it cool. And the wind was so strong that it blew. Now you have to understand, there's a sleeve in the wall. And the air conditioner slides into the sleeve. 8 tons. We're not talking about 8 tons. Big thing, right? It got blown out into the room and crashed to the floor. That's how powerful this wind was during this tropical storm. It was amazing. The good news is we're in Morningside Heights and everyone else is suffering. We have a beautiful location. My cousins came up from 33rd Street where they live in a rented apartment, and I think on the 32nd floor or something. They have no electricity, no showers, nothing. They came up last night to take a shower, and they drove up. And as he gets to the house, and he says, "This is amazing. There's people out. There's lights working." He said, "This is unbelievable." I said, "Well, we're the West Side. We're different." You know what I mean? So we really lucked out. And our guys were on top of all of these things, but no one could go on the roof to do anything about the stuff, that the railings, because to have gone on the roof would have meant that someone had to get hurt. You understand that? And on top of it, it really wasn't our job to do that. That's Bren's job. So on Wednesday morning, we had a discussion with Bren. Actually, Tom had a discussion with Bren, and after they had their nervous breakdown, by 5 o'clock that afternoon, they actually were able to get, I think, 2 guys in here to start looking. And they have been working ever since on restoring us to the condition that we can go back to work. But you realize we've lost a week. We're going to lose a week here. But what they're doing everything they can to move it as quickly as possible. Because they were working, I think, at 8 o'clock this morning. They were out there, do railings. They started on the deck going down between buildings 6 and 1. They had already taken down the iron piece that was hanging off the building into people's apartments. That's all done. So it's really been a great operation, because as everyone knows at this point, no one's apartment, except for broken glass in 2 apartments and 2 air conditioners being ripped out, no one has suffered damage to their apartments. No one.
I didn't even know there was, I was reading and hearing about it, but as far as I was concerned, nothing.
I'm glad you felt that way. I knew there was a storm out there. So anyhow, so the point is that it was a really great operation. We have a great team, and it's come together really nicely since the month of May till now. We've really coalesced in a really good way. And I think you've noticed that some communications have gone out as me and the general manager, which I don't think has happened in many years, because you don't have to kill a tree, a whole forest to put out a piece of communication that's going to double. You might as well put out one that explains everything. So that's the big news, and I just want you to really appreciate, because I really appreciate, you gotta understand, I really appreciate that things went as smoothly as they did. And I never had, if I got a call about something, I called in, Tom said it's being taken care of, it's done, we'll take care of it. And it was done. Except for climbing on the roof, it was done.
Now this, in the sense.
Can I finish my whole report?
Excuse me,
Okay.
we'll have a question.
Thank you. Thank you. So anyhow, so that's the big news. So you have to know, you have professional management, you got professional engineering, you have professional public safety. That's the really big news here. And that's what you should take away from what I'm saying tonight. And that's what I hope goes out to the people who may not be here and will watch the video. Now, Donna Quiros. Now, Donna has not been in the office since she fell over a cat and broke her elbow. Now, I'm going to give you good news. But I just want to tell you, Donna, without Donna, I have a real problem. I have to tell you. Donna is a really valuable piece of the machinery that makes this place run. So I've been a little handicapped. And, but I have gotten access to her emails, and I have looked to see if I have to get in touch with anybody. And I almost screwed up the Halloween event because I thought they just wanted to show me the flyer. I didn't know I was supposed to approve it. And then I saw a day later that I forgot to approve it, so I had to approve it, things like that. Anyhow, she had an outstanding doctor, from what I understand, from Roosevelt Hospital. It was an outpatient situation. And I found out today that it was lucky that it was this doctor that did the surgery, because her nerves were not where they were supposed to be when you open up the arm. They were in the wrong places in terms of what the doctors learn at school. But he was so good. He didn't cut one nerve. He got into her elbow. He took out there's no elbow left. It's all gone. A little piece, all shattered, gone. He put in a piece of metal. That's her elbow now. And yesterday she went to the doctor. She was going nuts at home because she said, I can't wait till November 6th. I gotta go. So because of the tropical storm, obviously people weren't there, and she got an appointment to go see this guy. And he took the x-ray and he said to her, I have to tell you, you're gonna be in my book. Because you will be, I promise you, because he writes books. He's that kind of guy, He said, you're going to be in my book because this is a special case. Your nerves were in the wrong place, and the way it's healing, it's just going to be very good. You're going to be in very good shape. It looks like very good shape. So she has a very flexible brace on now, and I think the pain tends to be unbearable, but I think next week we're going to start seeing her around, coming in. But we're hiring somebody temporary to work for our office, for the board office, because Donna can't type. That's not going to happen right away. So we're going to need somebody to sit with, Donna will sit with them, tell them, okay, that email, okay, that one goes here, and this is how you take care of this, and that one, this is what we're going to do. We're going to fix this up and send it out. Okay, that'll be done. So this is all good news. So Donna is going to be okay. She sounds great. I tell you, the drugs, whatever they're giving her to kill her, great stuff. Great. I think I'm going to ask her for some. Actually, before I didn't know she was going to the doctor. I had spoken to her a day before or something. She said, I said, well, she said, I'm almost out of my drugs. Because the pain is really bad. I said, now, Donna, I want to tell you, I'm going to call my doctor tomorrow. I said, which doctor? My doctor, not the surgeon. I'm going to call my doctor. I said, Donna, let me explain to you about how surgeons work. They figure out how long you're going to have the pain. They give you only the right number for that pain, and then they don't give you any more. I think it would be better to talk to the surgeon. So I think she did, that's how it worked out, because the doctor could write a script for you, but you know, after a while you may want more scripts. It's not really good. And then the stuff that gets printed won't be as nice as it is now. Anyhow, so that's what we owe it Donna. Donna's going to be fine. She sounds great, and I can't wait for her just to come back in the office and be there so I can talk to her. The STAR tax credit, that notice will go out in January. It'll be for the following year because you need that, but there's a lag time, a lead time on it, or whatever it is. And we want to get as many people on the STAR thing as possible. We're not sure if everybody is, but we're going to keep doing this every year. It'll become a regular thing. You'll see the STAR happening. The carbon monoxide detectors have all been replaced. We are now the smoke alarm, carbon monoxide detector it's a combined unit now. Everyone has one. So we're up to date, we're up to code. We are, in case gas in your stove smells funny, it's gonna, burns in some way that's not normal, that's gonna ring for you, carbon monoxide. And it'll say, carbon monoxide, until you're nauseous, but it'll tell you, okay? Mayor Bloomberg is a wonderful human being, and I hope he spends as much time on fixing the city so that in the future we don't have these problems we had today, these 2 days, as he does on his bicycles. Now, Mayor Bloomberg and his Department of Transportation, I think it's called, the commissioner in charge of that, right? She is a bike aficionado, so that's why you have bike paths growing out of like nothing, like you walk out of, I walked down a block a month ago, there's no bike path. Walk down, there's a bike path that wasn't there before. Geez, they grow like trees. So part of that is they passed a local law, 51. And guess what it says? You have to have your public garage, your parking garage. If you let outside people park their car, transients, you must have parking for bikes. That was going to mean for us, based on the design they laid out, we were going to lose about 9 parking spots. But Russell came up with a great solution. There's a cage inside the garage. On the downstairs on LaSalle Street, there's a cage on the right that's been cleaned out. That's going to be the bike parking. It satisfies the city. If we ever see a bike parked there, we should find out who it is, take a picture, and record it for posterity, because that means somebody actually biked from somewhere in the world to visit a human being here. You know what I mean? So we'll find that out. Now, Andy hates when I talk like that, because Andy Ackerman, he's a biker. He's probably listening to me right now. Anyhow, so Irene, which is for us, is finished. It took the board 4 months with Russell, working with Russell, and you have a report. It's clear. What's left is 25 are on hold because of resident requests, either because of balcony work or because they just didn't want the work to be done. I know one of our board members has to have his apartment done, and he just refuses to do it. And I told him, you can't wait for the kids to graduate to get it done. We like it done like in a decent amount of time. There's money. The insurance company gave us money. Wells Fargo was holding it in escrow, a separate escrow account, and we can only get that money when it's used, and we'd like to get it finished because we don't think we're going to need any more insurance coverage on this stuff because we're going to be in pretty good shape. Anyhow, next month or the month after, there should be a whole new issue about fines and fees for violation of house rules. Today I saw a man walking his dog on our upper lawn, and the dog had a purpose. The man had a purpose too, I guess. He didn't want to walk on the streets, but it's not for me to tell him that because that only makes people angry. It's for the public safety to do that, and that has to be. By the way, that's an interesting thing. The staircase between 6 and 1, they closed on the top of the staircase, the bottom of the staircase, and they closed down on either side of that path, that middle path between the north and south buildings. And somebody, that night, it upset public safety so much that I got an email about it. Somebody with 2 people with a dog, they're standing there. Our people are standing there, like tying it off and stuff. And they said, you shouldn't walk here, you have to walk around. And they laughed and they walked right through because they didn't care. So we're going to find out who it is because, we have cameras. We have cameras. So we will find out. just to speak to them, because there's something wrong when you don't listen to people you pay to say to protect you, you know, and to laugh. That annoys me. It wasn't you, Robert. Okay. Anyhow, as you know, local law is an ongoing thing. We just keep doing it until we finish it. We're close. Building 3 should have a permanent roof by winter, and building 4 and 5 will have some sort of temporary roof to protect them over the winter. And then there's the other issues, you know, window sills, things like that.
Chimney replacement.
Yeah, chimney, you want to hear about that? Okay. So anyhow, chimney replacement was not going to get done until almost the 3rd week of October. And what I did was I had Tom convene a meeting with Neil Breen, who's our resident, not our resident, but our corporation engineer, right? And so Neil Breen, we asked him in, Russell was there, I was there, and then we asked Todd from International Chimney to come in, because there isn't a person on this campus that likes him. So, I mean, and I like him less. So, and you may want to edit this tape. Anyhow, but I do hope someone out there in the world asks me for a recommendation. I want to give it, okay? Anyhow, we invited him to the meeting. And at the meeting, he told us Neil said to him, what is your schedule to complete the chimney now that you've poured the concrete? Because that's where we were at that moment. And then he gave a weird date. And I said, no, I think you're going to finish it on October 1st. He said, no, I don't think I can do that. I said, no, you have to finish it on October 1st, because that's the only thing that's acceptable to every shareholder here, whoever you've caused great harm to. Harm? I said, yes. Well, what do you think we've been doing for almost a year while you've been telling us the chimney was going to be finished on the 31st of January? We've been paying astronomical amounts of fuel bills, because our fuel, we have to run those damn boilers out there at 8 pounds of pressure when our boilers only run at 3, which changes the carbon print. You know, you're burning stuff, you're burning fossil fuel like crazy. And he said, well, I don't see how that's going to happen. I said, well, you could work the weekend. So then we had Frank come in, our site safety guy. And of course, we're so lucky. We missed the deadline for filing for the weekend, that weekend. But what we did do was I got him to commit to 12-hour days and working the following weekend. And that's what finished the chimney. And that was a big thing. Then, the next exciting thing happened. He finished the chimney, it's Friday, we're all set to turn it on, and then we're told that one of our residents in building 3 sent us a picture, and it didn't look like it was the right height. So we said, what's the height off the deck? And they told us, and Neil wrote an email right away and said it has to be the comparable height to the chimney. That was there. That's in your spec. It says that's what it has to be, not code for New York City. It has to be to the spec that we agreed to, which is the height of the old chimney. Okay, so I had a slight breakdown that day. I said, actually the words I used, I'm standing there talking to his foreman, and I said, would somebody get me a pipe? So that wasn't nice, and I never really meant it, but that's how angry I was. So it took almost 5 hours to get agreement that they could put the next section on without a helicopter coming in to fly it. And then we found out this remarkable thing. And then an email was written to Todd by Neil, and it said, how high off the deck are we? And he said, we're 10'8", and the chimney grows 2 inches when it gets hot. I said, okay. I said, okay, it's fine with me. I don't care if it grows 2 inches, but I'll watch out for this chimney. So that's our chimney, but it's done. It's working. We're up and running. The BMS is working. I have to tell you, I know I had heat during the storm, and actually building 1, I don't believe, had a problem with heat. And I don't know that building 6 might have had a problem, I'm not really sure, but Tom is working very diligently on getting the BMS system, something we've never experienced in its full bloom since we put it in, because as soon as we finished it, we wound up having to put a chimney in, you understand? It got put in almost at the end of the last heating season, then the chimney had to come down, and now we're into the third heating season, because the second one doesn't count. So the BMS, I think, is going to actually work once all the roofs are done, everything's insulated. Tom, I believe, is going to be able to control this heat, but it's going to be controlled to the requirement that the board has set and the city sets. And you receive that from Russell. You receive the paper that says what the outside temperature must be and when you get heat. And that's the way it's going to work. Now, most of the heat complaints for cold, we go to their apartments and we're getting readings 68, 70, you know, they have heat. Now, it's a subjective thing. Some people think 70 is not warm. Some people think only 80 is warm. But we can't burn heat to make that apartment hot at 80 degrees, and then everyone else is like, you know, they can't breathe. And besides, it's a waste of fuel. So we're going to follow the rules. It's 70 during the daytime. The board voted for 70, not 68. We made it 70, a little more comfort. But that's as high as it's supposed to go during the day, and we expect that to be followed, and Tom's going to work toward that goal. So we're moving forward. The chimney's done. So you can count the day the chimney was finished as January 31st, and everything intervening was a bad dream like on Dallas. Does anyone remember Dallas? When what was it, Bobby died? Yeah. I'm so Bible free. Anyway, Bobby died in the season finale the year before. A whole season goes by, and at the end of that season, they realized they had no ratings. So she comes out of the shower, and Bobby's there, and realizes it's a bad dream. It was a bad dream. So that's where we are with that. Now, we're going ahead with the garbage. We're going to solve the sanitation problem. It's been a little bit backed up right now because we've had a slight other situation that's taken over our time called a tropical storm. So, but it will move forward, and we'll keep you informed as we go forward. The bids, I think, are just coming in, and we have to have a few more discussions and stuff, but it'll be moving forward. The amenities committee passed, we passed 2 motions of the amenities committee. We now have made it a $75 a year for the first person who joins the workshop, and $50 for the second person from the same family. And they both have to sign releases and contracts, because that's what we want. We want to know that they're signing it. And then the second one was the, what was the second one?
Structure, the plan.
Oh, just the plan, right?
The plan.
We finally agreed on the plan. We have agreement. We voted approval of it, and now we'll wait to see if when it gets done. We have no idea. We're waiting for more information from the amenities committee, and you know they got to tell us what we have to contribute. It won't be money, maybe a little money, but it won't be labor. They have to come up with a way to do it. Anyhow, so Andy Ackerman gave his report. We're doing fine, even though we spent $500,000 on fuel. The big news is, it's not what we spent on fuel, it's what Russell saved us while we were spending that number on fuel. Because if we didn't have the savings of almost $300 or maybe more $1,000, you understand the number I gave you? We would have had, with $500,000 in fuel and $300,000 not saved, we could have had a huge deficit. So the board took care of any deficit by passing a surcharge, which had to be done because you can't put the corporation in jeopardy of not having a balanced budget. Because this place has a very bad track record on making corrections to the budget after the deficit is discovered. It never gets repaired. Even though when I was the treasurer, we put in a thing where every year $100,000 is included in the budget to be transferred over the course of the year into the reserve fund. We figure in about 30 years we should make up for the deficits of 3 consecutive years. About 30 years old. So anyhow, as you know, I thanked Tribino, Melendez, and Bluck. It's Bluck, isn't it? I think we just Bluck. It is Bluck. So it is blood. In my head it was bug, but it's blood. Anyway, and you know, I have to thank George too, because George is a resident guy here, and he, you know, that stuff keeps running. They bring in repairmen sometimes, and the guy leaves, and George says, watch this. And he gets it to work. So he knows that system. He's an amazing guy, George. And we will honor at the board meeting, we will elicit the names, waiting for names, exact names from Vincent, of those who went above and beyond in the public safety. And of course, we will speak about Tom and Russell and Vincent, because they did an exceptional job of keeping their team together and providing us with safety, comfort, and security during a very, very dramatic moment. Because as Senator Schumer said today, this is probably the worst storm New York City has ever seen, and probably one of the top 5. It's now probably one of the top 5 that has ever come across in this country.
It's two.
Let's have some comments.
Katrina.
Okay, so I have I'm ready to questions.
Questions?
Yes.
Okay,
Hot topics.
all right, we're just taking over there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay?
Okay, who's
Go.
first?
All right, that little path that's blocked off there, what's going on and why and how long?
There's nothing blocked off
It's
now.
open now.
The path is
Oh, is
open.
it open?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
can
yeah.
walk-
Once-
You can walk all the way through
Right.
from one?
Yes.
Oh, because I
There's
couldn't-
there's one little triangle of stuff that doesn't interfere with anybody's walking, but for some reason it still has tape on it, but we'll get that clear. We'll get it cleaned up. You
And
know.
the other thing what is the amenities committee?
That's all the amenities of the co-op. They're gonna put out a book, and it's gonna be given out to new people who wanna come here. It's the
What
workshop,
about the
it's the
old-
family, it's the workshop, it's the children's playroom, it's the game room, it's the gym, it's
It's
the
like the
workshops.
book of programs.
Yeah, because
Of
that's
things that are going
a very important thing. When you're selling apartments, that you have that to offer. You know, they charge a lot of money for the places downtown that include a swimming pool and a gym, and you know, they list it. So they can get another $1,000 out of you when you go to rent a place. Because that's important. That's important stuff. Now we're not asking for more money out of them, but we want to tell them that they're here because that is an attractive thing. You can have that.
I agree, because even some of my friends come and they find out we have a gym here, they are amazed.
I know.
Lucky.
Yeah, when RCN was done.
Oh, before you speak, I know, I'll tell you. Okay, let me do this. So, I'm going to answer the question because I know I should have told it in my report, and then you'll be covered. The phone line to the booth is RCN. RCN went down again. We lost communication to the booth. So we not only lost communication to BMS, we lost communication to the booth. Now, this is bizarre, but the only thing working in the office on Tuesday and Wednesday morning was the internet, because that's Time Warner Cable. So here's how we're going to solve the booth. Talked it over with Russell. It went into the works today. We're going to hardwire the telephone lines in the booth in the old-fashioned way. Copper wire, Verizon, it's going to be done. I had RCN at one point. I always thought it was a hardwired system, but obviously it goes someplace after at least my house and winds up in a place that is going to be shut down. Verizon doesn't seem to have that problem, so we're probably going to, those two lines will be hardwired. As to the office, where you could not call in, and it really wouldn't have been necessary had you been able to call into the booth,
Right.
because then that can be communicated to the office by internet. We're working on that. We may go to a completely new company, that's around here, like Fios, for the phone lines, to bring the phone line in, and for the BMS. Because as of today, when they brought up RCN, when they brought the lines back, they had the internet for the BMS system. You could see it, there's a big screen in Russell's office that's there. You're supposed to see the boilers and things, Well, they couldn't activate the IP address for our BMS system so that you can Now it's computer, it's part of the computer system, you know. Then Tom can communicate with it through his pad and tell it what to do. Couldn't do it. And that was well into halfway through the day, and I don't even know at this time if it's been done. But we cannot have this happen anymore. This is not a satisfactory solution. Not when people's lives are at stake here. And it could be the simplest thing. Someone who's healthy has a problem and they have to reach somebody. And they're calling the booth and the booth doesn't have a phone system. That's not acceptable to us.
Like a woman right on my floor. Shirley.
So Lottie, I think I answered your question, but it was my oversight not in telling you that, and I apologize. That we will take care of these two issues. These are the two weaknesses we found in our emergency management plan, and we will now take care of it. Now, Lottie, did I answer it?
Yes.
Thank you, Lottie.
Robert?
I have a few questions for you to come
One at
back
a
around
time.
to me
Yes, please.
regarding.
I never doubted you would.
Regarding the garbage issue, you stated at the board meeting a couple of times that there's only one place it can go, and it's fruitless and useless to even try to consider anything else. And my question was,
No.
not just, I guess I'm really wondering what the basis of that claim is, but the question I have is, did you ever talk to the sanitation department about any other possible locations other than that
Of course.
location? And what were those?
There are none. They told us very simply, this is where it has to go.
Given the whole
This is where it
campus?
has to go.
Robert?
There is no whole campus. There is no whole campus.
Robert?
Yeah, okay,
Okay.
that was,
Robert,
please,
let
I'm
me answer.
talking.
Let me answer you this question. I dealt with it in 2007. I walked around with the sanitation department through the whole complex. We looked at 123rd Street. We looked at the entrance to the garage on 123rd Street. We looked at the entrance to the garage on Broadway. We looked at the entrance to the garage on LaSalle Street. We looked at where the greenhouse is now. The answer was no way. This is the only place they have a can cut, and they will not go anywhere else.
So the
That's
acting
it.
general manager, when at the board meeting,
No, he withdrew that.
proposed
He
that-
withdrew that.
I know he
maybe-
withdrew it, but he
He withdrew
stated
it.
at that time that there
No,
was
he withdrew
discussion
it.
with
He
the
withdrew
sanitation
it,
department.
Robert. He withdrew it because he knew there was no other place. And the plan that he left was the plan that we're talking
I know,
about.
I was on the.
Okay, so it's done, Robert.
Yeah, I
Okay?
understand that.
Next question.
The question.
No,
is
no.
there a timeline?
You asked the question. You asked the question. Next question. I'll come back. Go ahead.
I just have a statement to make regarding the storm. The weatherman says it was a hurricane and a northeaster combined
Right.
with a jet stream coming between them in the middle, and that's why it was so severe.
That's not exactly the accurate thing, since in my spare time I'm a weather maven, but not as good as someone else who is. This storm rode the Gulf Stream and drew its strength from the Gulf Stream. So it was a hurricane, but when it hit land, the federal government called it a tropical storm.
Oh, right,
That's what they did.
okay.
And that's what's making the insurance companies pay 100%.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And the other thing is, fiber optics. The phone company came to me about 5 weeks ago.
That's two questions.
No, I just said two statements.
Oh, you asked
No
the statement?
I have another statement.
The thing is
You're
that
next.
the phone company wrote me a letter about a failed jack in my apartment. Instead of replacing it, they wanted to put in fiber optic lines because,
That's Verizon.
yes, because copper is too delicate. That's what they told me.
Look, it's a personal choice.
Okay, and here's
How
what
many
happened.
years are you here?
40.
Okay, in 40 years, that delicate copper wire worked, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
Okay.
But they didn't want to do that, so they gave me the fiber optic, and here's what they told me. In the event of a storm like we just had, the phone lines go down, I have phone service for 8 hours after the storm. So I just wanted to tell you that.
Anybody who has FiOS, anybody who has selected FiOS, and I am one of them,
I have it.
when you accept the package and you take internet phone, and
Television.
television, right?
Yes.
Okay. They come into your house, they have to put this unit, and it's
Yes.
a big
Yes.
piece of equipment. It's
Yes.
not like a huge, but it's big.
Mm-hmm.
This piece of equipment has to be near electricity,
Yes.
and your phone becomes a digital phone.
Right.
Now, Verizon has a reason why they want you to go to fiber optic. They want to get rid of all the union guys that do the Verizon work, because these guys are not union. So you have to always bear that in mind. That's one of the reasons they're telling you to change. But because it's digital, and because it requires electricity to run it, because it is digital, even though we'll use the wires in your house, it connect back and run through all your things. If the power goes out, you are only left with 8 hours of battery.
Yes.
When the battery runs out, you have no phone service. Then you have to have a cell phone. Now I'll tell you what I did, because I don't trust anything. I'm kooky that way. I left my cell phone plugged in all the time.
Yes.
From Sunday night right through, because I said at some point the electricity's going to go out, but my phone's going to be charged. And if my phone, anything happens, I know I go down to my car, it's a great phone charger. That's really what it's for,
Yeah.
charging your phone.
Okay.
So, that's the way these things work,
I
okay?
agree.
It's a very expensive phone charger,
Yeah.
but boy, does that thing work. Go
Okay.
ahead, sir.
James.
I would like to hear a little more about, because I didn't go to the last board meeting.
Yes.
I live in building 4 in the C line. I have a pretty good idea of where the new garbage trash place is going to go, and I'm just curious, could you say a little bit more about what the plan is, or what the plans, what are the options? Not where it's going to be, but what is it going to look like?
Oh, I can tell you what it looks like. That's easy. This is a total, now, does everyone here walk past, down Broadway to the subway? Ever do that? And you look at that disgusting thing they did? Okay, this is not that. And I'll tell you why that's disgusting. For a number of reasons. 1, it's open. 2, it's got a scoop that goes like this and throws it up. And 3, when they take it out to dump it, the ground is covered with garbage and nobody cleans it. Okay? The beauty of this system, it is completely self-contained. There will never be any garbage on the ground, under it, around it. If something falls because they didn't get it in, which is in a plastic bag. Remember, our stuff has been compacted once before it'll even get to this. This is the second time it gets really rammed together. So if it does fall down, it'll be picked up because it's right there, but there'll be nothing underneath. Completely self-contained, sealed unit. The only time it gets unsealed is when they get to the dump, they lift it in the air, and it opens and drops the stuff. When it comes back to us, it's in the same condition it left, sealed but empty. Next to that will be a corrugated recycling thing that'll tie corrugated cardboard together, because if you put enough of that together, you can make a few bucks off it. So we'll get some bucks back to the co-op. We're not talking millions here, but we're talking about a way to recycle in a smart way to get some money. And then the other part will be I think it's 3 containers we have to buy, which are for one purpose only, and that is for recycling of glass plastic products. They have to go into that kind of a thing, so they'll be carried from the building, dumped in there, and then sanitation will pick it up, throw them over the top, gone.
And will this, just as a quick follow-up, this will take up most of the parking lot?
What parking lot?
Where is it
So
going to be?
maybe I'm thinking of the wrong place.
It's not a parking lot.
Met.
No, the Mets use it.
Yeah, it's not a parking lot.
Well, but that's how it's used, and it's used, there are cars that park there illegally, there are cars that are parked there all the time, and deliveries. So my big question is, do the deliveries stop? Because that's a pain in the butt.
They do not, from what I understand, and I'm just waiting for a final word, we're all waiting for this final word, from our attorney, is that the lease does not allow them to have access. They may be using it, but it doesn't allow them to have, it doesn't say you have access to this area. It doesn't say it.
Okay.
And we believe that's not going to be a problem. They'll load from the street, that's what small stores do. That's what Wayne
They've been
Reed does.
doing it since the construction, because they really can't get in there the same way anymore. So it
Well,
works.
that's going to be really hard on them.
Thank you. No, it's great for
Okay.
me.
Anybody else?
Okay,
And then You
Yeah.
will get, your minutes.
I understand that you're not using your temporary boiler anymore. Does the co-op still have to pay because the thing?
All right, all right, good question. In fact, I guess I should have talked about that too. Anyway, the temporary boilers and the tank, there's a tank there, remember, the oil tank. Now, the gas line's been disconnected, you know that. You can see it's laying on the ground. We're not using the gas. And we're not using the oil to feed those boilers, they're dead. That whole thing has been arranged for the day of removal, but we're negotiating that last part with them, like this month. It's going to have to stay there for this month, because we already paid for October. You know, that's not an issue. But November, Russell's negotiating with them to see if we can just write it off to that we were storing it for them. Because it can't get out of here until the south wall, I'm not saying this right. It's the north wall of building 5 has to come down in its entirety. All that scaffolding has to come down. All the way back to past the control booth. Because they can't get that out until that's out of the way, because there's no way to get the truck in to pull out the oil tank and the other things. Okay, the other two things. Okay, now, so that's November. It's scheduled to do November because Bren said that's when I'd be finished with that. I could take that down, and then I could disassemble the bridging. 1 day down for the bridging, and then 1 day back for the bridging. So it's like 3-4 days we're talking about not working in that area. Because once you take the bridging down, everything has to stop on both buildings. That's like, you know, that, because you can't have people walking without cover. So this is all, the time, the synchronization of it has been planned. The exact moment is now probably up in the air because we just lost 5 days here. You know, we realize that this is a week lost here. So it may change it. Hopefully, I think the move date was in like before Thanksgiving, but now it could be, we may be in December with this issue.
So we still have to pay them for the presence.
Unless Russell was a good negotiator. I want to tell you, I'm very proud of Russell.
Right.
Russell is my kind of hero when it comes to spending money. He doesn't. He doesn't. In fact, I go in and say, Russell, what do you think of this idea? He says, oh, I have to think about that for a while. That means he's not keen. It may be costing us money. So I know what the answer is going to be. But he's very good. He knows, he wants to control the money. He's going to negotiate with him. We'll see what happens in the negotiations. We'll see if we'll get it for nothing. That it sits here for nothing. Because we're certainly not using him.
Right.
Okay.
You know.
Now, we don't have too much time, so Chris wanted the questions, then you get another question, then we are switching for the next round. Chris?
You just reminded me about bridging. Is there any sense of building 1 and 2 bridging ever coming down?
Sure. Sure. It's coming down tomorrow. No, it's not. No, it's not. Now, I thought I'd inject humor into that question because I have to convince myself something's got to be funny about it.
Yeah, right.
Now, that bridge 1 was supposed to come down. This week, Site Safety was supposed to come here and say it's okay to take down 3 sides of Building 1. And it was going to come down at the end of October, this beginning of November. I don't think that's going to happen at this moment because I think not Site Safety, the best squad is a little occupied right now with a much more expensive proposition on 57th Street. Do you really think they care about us? Okay. Now, if the schedule had been right, that means this week we would have seen that come down, assuming they gave the approval. Because that's what you have to get, is the approval that the work is done and no one can be injured on the lower floors. And then, at the end of November, Building 2 on 3 sides, well, that would have been 4 sides, I think, would have come down. That schedule is not present, okay? I said to Russell today, because I went in, because I realized what this week meant, and I said, every time we think we've got this, like, secured, we know what's going to happen, something happens. There's a monkey wrench goes like this, bing, and everything breaks. It's like Bugs Bunny film.
Okay.
It's horrible.
Robert, one more question. And that's it.
Well, Larry, you didn't quite finish the garbage issue. You clarified, and thanks, James, for those questions. The timeline, is there a timeline yet?
How can I give you a timeline? We didn't go over the bids yet.
Okay.
We're gonna open the
Okay,
bids.
so-
As soon as we open the bids and we decide, the board has to vote. If it comes to us
It
in
doesn't have to
November,
wait on scaffolding coming down, or it's
no.
porta-sands, or whatever those things are, leaving, or any of
No,
that
no,
stuff.
no. If
Okay.
once the board votes it, we want to get it done.
Yeah.
This has, of all the things that have to happen, this has to happen.
Yeah.
It's been delayed too long.
Right.
It's wrong, the way we're handling this, because when I walked, Andy was so nice to me
I
one
agree.
day, he took me on a walk past the greenhouse. I thought I was gonna lose my lunch, my breakfast, whatever the
Yeah,
hell.
well,
I
we
had.
live with it every day.
I said,
But,
it's horrible. No, it's horrible.
Yeah.
It's
I
horrible.
have another
Listen, when I
question
moved
about
here, I want
building
to just
four.
tell you, when I moved
Yeah.
here, we used to have a garbage bin right outside Building 1, right in front of MRHS. It was beautiful. Garbage was in it every day. I used to go by and go, what a wonderful smell to go to work every day with this smell.
Yeah, so
And
they
then
moved it to us.
Okay,
Thank you,
I guess so.
everyone.
All right.
We appreciate it, and we appreciate that there's no other alternative, right?
Andy wants to say something.
But the other question was about Building 4 and Building 5, roof fixes that, for the temporary roofs for the winter. You were talking about the
You got a
heating
letter from me,
system.
didn't you?
Uh,
Were you on the top floor?
I'm not on the top
Are you
floor.
on the 20th floor?
No, I'm not.
So then you didn't get my letter.
My question was, I didn't know that you had sent a letter.
Well, you
I
wouldn't, because
remember
only
you
the 20th
talking
and
about it.
21st floor would have gotten it.
And because I thought I needed to bring back information for those people, but you've taken care of that.
Of course we did. We
And
notified them.
they're gonna put in temporary roofs, is that the,
They have to.
yeah,
Because if they could put a permanent roof before December 21st on those two buildings,
yeah.
we're gonna be done real early.
Yeah, no, that's not expected.
Okay.
I think Andy wants to say
Yeah, I just
something.
said one little thing about the sidewalk bridging. It's like when you tell it to me, it sounds different. And so I just want to say, the Department of Buildings, they can say, you can't take it down till the whole project is done.
They
So
could do
that's
that.
really the decision, whether they're gonna let us go down or whether they, till the whole project is done.
No.
So I think people should be warned that that's within their rights.
That
to
is
do
always a possibility.
But I don't think that's been entirely
Okay.
clear to everyone.
Could I ask if you could
No.
share those with the building chair,
No.
the communications that you
Ask
send
them.
that
I'll ask
specific?
them.
Ask them.
Yeah, you want it?
One of the problems with MGCA is buildings and building organizations, and building chairs are not very well represented or integrated into the whole
If you
process.
wanna get a copy of it, ask somebody on the 20th, 21st floor. I don't have any
I
more
believe,
copies.
Robert, that I saw it posted in the lobby of your building. The other day I was in your building, this in Dana. I believe this
The
memo.
letter that
I
you sent
believe
to the
I
people
saw
on the
this memo.
20th floor?
I believe it was posted in the plastic.
I'm not in your building, I have no idea what's there.
I believe that, where I read it. Okay, thank you very much.
Kevin,
Mr. President.
Next topic.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. We are moving on to,
Thank you, thank you.
all right, we are moving on to approving minutes for April 16th, sir, April 16, 2012. Everybody got those revised minutes way back for the September meeting. We did not have a chance to approve it then, so I guess you want to make a motion of approving the minutes?
All right.
Okay.
Give me the dates if you want.
Okay, we are, all right.
Yes.
Okay. The first one is April 14.
16.
April 16, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yes. First, make it, I move that the minutes of the regular meeting of April 16, 2012 be approved.
Okay. I'd like to add as revised on September 10/12, which all of you got before the September meeting.
As revised on September 10th,
September 20.
September 20th.
You're approving your
Second.
seconding. Okay. Anybody, all right. Now, the catch is, yes, Andy.
I was waiting for discussion. I was ready to, I just want
Okay.
to point out there's a word missing.
A word missing? Okay, well.
on page 3, right, page 2, right after chair's report, there's just a verb missing in this sentence. It's like the third line, and she a lengthy discussion. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Led,
Yeah, you're right.
a verb is incorrect.
I know, I just corrected on my part.
All
Okay. Now, Andy, you give it to me, we will amend it, that's a typo. All right, I'm going to read the name of the shareholders that were voting at that meeting, and you just tell me yes, no. Andrea Baker?
Yes.
Okay. Martin is not here, Jen is not here, Robert Flash?
What is this for?
The April 14, you will, April 16, I gave it to you repeatedly. John Mercer, Mark Nathan, Louis Papier, Susan Chandra Barson, Lucky, Marie Wilson.
I'm checking to see if I was here, yeah.
Yes, you will.
Yes, I know, I checked.
Andy Ackerman.
Here.
Diane Cook. Ann Jackson. Joanne Winston.
Yes.
Linda Vender. Yvonne Martin Caldula.
Yes.
Okay. Frank is yes. Okay. All right. These minutes are approved. Okay. June 28th.
I think that I was not at that meeting because I'm not on this list and
You're not on the list?
on the April 16th.
It's not listed as on the minute.
It's not on the minutes, so, and I have no,
Okay, I'm
I have
sorry.
no memory
You're
of
right. Okay, I'm
receiving
sorry.
the minutes.
Okay, fine. I cut you. Okay.
May 31st.
May 31st I was here.
I thought we approved myself.
We did.
We approved. There was a problem with April 16.
We did approve.
We redid April 16.
Okay.
Okay. June 28.
Right, has this been amended?
What? No, this has not been amended.
Right, then the secretary makes a motion that the minutes of
Sorry.
Oh,
June
28,
June 28,
2012. Okay.
2012 be approved as submitted.
Second. Okay. All right. Let's see. Andrea Brecker.
Yes.
Robert Flash.
Am I being asked to either approve or not approve?
Yeah.
I don't approve.
You don't approve? Okay. John Mercer.
Yes.
Mark Denison. Louis Papier. Susan Chandler Parsons.
Yes.
Lucky Strauss. Barbara William Henry. Marie Wilson.
Yeah.
Diane Cook. Yes. Joanne Winston.
Yes.
Marsha Duffy.
Yes.
Mary Sheldon. Okay. Thank you. Now we can go on to the next part, which is the chair report. Okay. There are a couple, what I'd like to deal with now are the committee of MGCA. I'd like you to know that the chair of the Employee Holiday Fund is Sherry Kay. The co-chair is Angela Schramm. And the current member of the committee are Rachel Martin, Marian Mills, Dana Minaya, Maggie Sears, Lorna Sheldon, Ray Thomas, and Marian Wright. And I understand from the chair that if anybody else wants to join, they're welcome to join. I assume that at the right time, the chair will give us a report of what's going on. That's just, okay.
Just
Now-
we're gonna start putting out the flyers next week,
Okay,
and then we're gonna have meetings, and in light of what was just said about the great help that all the staff have been, we hope that people will be generous.
thank you. Okay, Community Relations Committee. I have actually appointed a shareholder waited in the summer to chair the committee.
I'm sorry, who was it?
Let me finish my sentence. Just listen to me.
Yeah.
I have appointed,
Names.
I'm not giving you the name.
Oh.
I have appointed a shareholder, a very community conscientious shareholder to be the chair of the committee. Unfortunately, that shareholder had an emergency operation that was basically a life-saving operation and has been basically out of commission since September. So we were in some way on hold. So in the meantime, we were very lucky that Ben Lehman, who has been on the committee, on the Community Relations Committee for well over 10 years, has agreed to step in, basically, at least for now, to get the committee together. He's going to tell you what we are planning to do, but before I'm telling you that, I'd like to tell you who Ben Lehman is, for those of you who don't know. Ben Lehman grew up in Morningside. Ben Lehman's mother was a nurse, a kindergarten teacher in our public school, and our kids, the one that grew up here in the 60s and 70s, had the pleasure of being in her class. And they still remember her. My son was in her class. Ben himself is a shareholder. He has two great little kids. I'm sure you saw them, if you saw them with him. And he has been on the committee for like 10 years, and I know one of the things that he has been working very hard on was the school issues in the neighborhood. Am I correct? And Ben and I met, we had a long discussion, and I'm going to get Ben to tell you what we'd like to do about the committee. So Ben, come over please. Ben Lehman. Go ahead.
I actually, it wasn't the CLC when I went to school here, but what was it called? We had the nursery school, and I actually went there, and my mother was one of the teachers in the class across the way, and I spent most of my time at the door wishing I was in her class. So I moved back a little over 10 years ago, and my wife was not my wife at the time, moved into another apartment and proceeded to get married, combine apartments, not physically, just moved to another larger apartment, even a larger apartment. And it's wonderful being here with two young children, as Tobin mentioned. I have worked with the Community Relations Committee most of the time that I've been here sporadically. I am not one of the members just due to the life circumstances of raising young children to be able to commit myself to as much time as the other members do on the committee, and as many of you do for many things that you do. But over the years, I became familiar with the important work that I think that they do. And though many of them are, all of them are my friends, Tove and I called a meeting of all the people that wanted to continue to be on the Community Relations Committee, and due to circumstances, they all refused to join us in that committee. And the only people that really responded to the request to be on the Community Relations Committee, for the most part, were the people that had previously been on the Community Relations Committee. So my primary goal tonight is to initiate some discussion, maybe a little bit now, but really more for December 3rd, which is the next meeting of the attempt to reinitiate the Community Relations Committee for whatever it's going to become. And part of whatever it's going to become can be talked about at that meeting. In brief, what I saw the Community Relations Committee do was keeping a pulse on what's going on in our community, near and far, as well as doing things internally that have an impact on our community. So this kind of information coming in and information or activities going out. So recycling got melded into community relations. Last year, 2 years ago, there was the issue of the African burial sites, and we know that the major ones were downtown, but more recently we heard of others being on the east side of Manhattan, near the bus depot. So significant issues for our neighbors and us and we hosted what proved to be a very enlightening and valuable information session on those issues. So we get to, as a community, as our own Mornings by Gardens community, get to present ourselves to the community at large as people, as a group of people who are interested in what's going on all around us, as well as sprinkle out our interests also, which are becoming, I'm not sure how far we'll go with composting, but that level of issue, as well as the recycling, textile recycling, and electronic recycling that the committee has done. Tova made reference to the school issues. Nobody here seems to have very young children, as I do. 5 and 7, anybody? Teenagers?
No longer.
Has everybody's children graduated college already?
No.
My neighbors have two.
Okay, we all have neighbors who have children. Yes, children.
Yes.
Right. So the choice of schools is significant. I went to the nursery school here, and then I went to 125. I went to 43. These are all the local schools. My younger siblings did not. The change in the atmosphere started to happen as I was growing up. I don't think it had anything to do with me.
You mean your reputation didn't precede you?
The reputation followed me. The wake of disruption in the school system was all related to me. And remarkably, there are still issues of comfort or discomfort. We just sent my 5-year-old to pre-K at 125, and I wish I had a bigger loudspeaker to announce how wonderful an experience that was. So what we tried to do was invite representatives from all of the schools that are in District 5, that any child in Grants or Morningside Gardens might go to or might want to choose to go to, and have them come in and just talk. So we did this once, and it was an excellent conversation, and we weren't able to do it again. But there are those types of things that we have the opportunity to do. Again, reaching out to the community, bringing information in, as well as giving the opportunity for people in our community an opportunity to, I'm thinking now as I'm saying that, Hands Across the Street is another activity that the Community Relations Committee has been involved in, where we have neighbors across the street that for many years, I'm not sure how long that dinner has been going on, but they alternate getting a kind of dinner dance together where they alternate sites, of whether I think this year it's going to be held at Grants. And it's just an opportunity for a family to get together from both sides of the street. That's, in a very brief nutshell, types of things that I've seen the Community Relations Committee doing. I hope it can continue. I know that there are other issues that some people have related to it. My objective is that the outcome of the work that has been done over the years is of great value. So my role, and I said to Tova, that I wouldn't chair it, but I would facilitate it. I would look to help gather some interest of people, either those that have been on or want to be on that have never been on, to just reach out. Come December 3rd, it's a Monday?
Yes, Monday.
And we can talk about whatever anybody's ideas are for where you think it might be to go. Have an exchange of what experiences I have had. If you can get other people who have participated in the Community Relations Committee to join, that would be great as well.
Andrea.
I would just like to suggest in advance of the December 3rd meeting that it be a, community-wide announcement beyond the MGCA, because there may be people who don't attend or participate who would be interested.
Okay, yeah, I think that I
So you
agree.
suggest what, we should put flyer by the elevator?
At least, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, with some brief description about what it is, or come learn, just so that open it up to people, particularly people, maybe younger families or something.
Yeah, you're good.
Ben, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your last name, and maybe you could spell it?
L-I-E
L-I-E?
M-A-N.
M-A-N.
Not related. I do have a brother, but we're not
Oh,
referred to as the lead.
Yes.
Not spelled that way. If it was, I'd solve all problems.
No, and if I just, when you present this occasion for facilitating, is that supposed to be at the MGCA meeting, or this is a separate
No,
meeting?
December
Separate meeting.
December
Third
third,
Which is
Monday.
Monday. Yeah, I thought I heard Monday. In the-
Yes.
Is it? I think
It's
it's
Monday,
Yeah.
December third.
Okay.
We have reserved this room, and anyone of the shareholder who is interested in coming, discussing, the idea is to open up the conversation to anyone that is interested and come with new ideas and new suggestions. Some of them might be mundane. I mean, I've been walking up to City College, I'll give you a little example, and I was shocked to see.
It's a big example, actually. It's a very good example.
I was amazed how many blocks you walk there and there is not one tree on the street. The city could certainly put in the 40 to 50 of the million trees. I also saw walking there is an organization of women to improve the commerce in the area. This is, for example, a group that I would contact because I think that having trees around will make it more amenable to new business coming in. So this is something we can approach them and work together and facilitate. Since our grounds committee has already managed to get the city to plant trees, they might be able to facilitate for them, and they could print like, there is room there for definitely 40 trees.
Right.
If you walk up there, it's like, some of the blocks are like scorched paint. So these are the kind of things that we can begin to think about, of what we can really do for the community, above and over of what has been done until now.
And if I understand, since we do have board members here, if I understand correctly, the communications or the community relations committee as well as MGCA are completely separate from the board and will not be receiving any funding or any representational
How do you come around to make that kind of a statement?
I'm asking, it's a question.
No, you didn't ask a question. You made a statement.
I said, as I understand
Excuse
it,
me.
and
Excuse
so
me.
I'm putting it to you as a question. Am I correct in my understanding
No,
of it?
you're
That
incorrect. You're
that
incorrect.
separation is,
You amaze me.
am I not
You're-
correct?
No, you're not
You're
correct.
not the only.
You're incorrect.
The
The
board
board-
stands
the-
behind this committee?
Excuse me, Robert, could you listen, please? Let me answer you, please. The MGCA has always gotten certain amount of money from the board throughout our history. And the Community Relations Committee is part of MGCA, and if there will need to be some funding, there will be a line in the budget for MGCA. According to the new ruling of the board, we will not get the money in hand. If we have an activity, we need to spend money, we'll go to the board, and they will approve the expenditure and reimburse us. Okay? So if there will need to be some money, the board will, I hope in the 2013 budget, there will be a line of some money for MGCA, which will cover the food, for example, the food that Flyer got, Ken and Thomas, 3 times a year, we have the food collection, right? There are flyers. Those flyers cost $100 each time because they're printed. So there is right there $300 that MGCA has been paying all along, okay? So there are some expenses, they're not major.
And our bylaws have ways of raising money through the building organizations.
That's correct.
And
we should
I
go
would-
back
I-
to it.
But I guess then it was not a mistake when I saw MGCA listed as one of the board committees.
No, it's not.
Where did you see it?
In the flyer, the listing of all of the committees that are, and MGCA was there, and I looked and I thought, oh.
No,
that's
MGCA is not
board committee.
it's not listed as a board committee. It's listed as a committee that may want to.
But any committee can
Section
request
20.
money from the board?
Every committee that we know of has been asked to give us a budget.
Okay,
Okay.
yes.
It's after 9
Doesn't mean they're
o'clock,
getting the
I'm not sure
money.
how much more
I'm
business
sorry,
there
excuse
is.
me,
But they can ask.
excuse me, one person at a time.
It's after 9 o'clock, I'm not sure how much more business there is, but if we could get to that business.
Are we finished here, or you move to adjourn?
No, we're not moving to adjourn, no. Okay, so, any more questions, or if not, we can move on to the next issue? Thank you very much,
Okay,
Ben,
fine.
and
Thank you.
Thank you. I look forward to seeing you all.
thank you. Okay, all right, Robert has a motion that he has submitted a while ago. Robert, would you like to
Yes, I would.
summarize your motion in a couple of minutes so we can then discuss and vote?
Madam Chair, I'd like to move that the following motion be adopted, and I want to follow the proper Robert's Rules of Order rules. Shall I first read the motion, or do we need a second? I need to read the motion.
Before there is a
All
motion.
right. And without prior comment, or may I
Yes,
make?
just read it, please.
Okay, without prior comment, I'll explain the motion later.
You just read the
But
motion.
you all
No
receive
explanation.
copies of this.
Yes.
But you have to first read the motion and get it, you
Make
can't have
the
a
motion.
discussion.
Yeah, only it's been seconded.
Okay.
Is there? Yeah. This was offered on Thursday, May 31st, or it was, that was, in any case, it's finally coming up. To help establish the plausibility and integrity of MGCA claims to represent, speak for, and otherwise act on behalf of all or a majority of cooperators and their families through the votes and other actions of representatives or delegates to MGCA of Morningside Gardens building organizations. Now, that's a big mouthful, I'll explain it. Be it resolved that, except for MGCA officers, only those whose claim to be a building organization representative or delegate to MGCA, only those whose claim to be this can be substantiated by showing the following may vote at MGCA meetings, although all residents have a right to attend and speak at MGCA meetings. Qualifications are: 1, they are members, representatives of a functioning building organization, with written bylaws adopted and amended on a specific date or in a specific year. B, building organization officers elected in a well-publicized building-wide secret ballot election on a specific date within the last 3 years. C, well-publicized building organizations meetings within the last year. And 2, they have been elected as one of 4 building organization representatives delegates to MGCA in an election of the above-mentioned sort within the last 3 years. Or, and we're now talking about who gets to vote, they have been chosen as a substitute building organization representative or delegate to MGCA for a single meeting of MGCA in accordance with MGCA bylaws. Or, if they are not one of the 4 delegates elected in the building organization election mentioned above, they can show that they are a valid building organization representative or delegate to MGCA per the currently effective written bylaws of their own building organization. That's the motion which all of you have received in emails. At least I'm told that was the case.
You need a second. You need a second.
You want
We need a second.
Second.
Okay,
For
then we'll go
discussion.
to the second. Do the motion. Okay, any comments?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I believe it's customary for the person who makes the motion after it's seconded to be able to,
1 minute.
and I'm not sure that that's customary, 1 minute to explain a complex
Just,
motion.
it's not complete,
Who
just
sets the
explain
minutes,
it.
though?
Who's
I'm
second?
sorry?
Where are the rules? I don't care, but I'm just saying, who sets the timer?
Well, that's one of the problems.
We have 10 minutes and we are
Well,
voting.
make a timer, I don't care.
Okay.
The chair sets the time limit.
Let me just very briefly explain. MGCA has served many purposes over the years, and it has done a lot of great things. It continues to be a terrific forum for exchanging information between the board and cooperators who come to MGCA meetings. However, one thing it has not been, since I've been involved with it, is either democratic or representative.
I deny
And
that.
my
That was
board,
your
Please.
my motion is an attempt to take a step in the direction of making MGCA more democratic, helping encourage building organizations, which are the heart of MGCA's claim to be representative, helping to revive their vitality, I hope, by setting conditions that they have to meet if they're going to participate as voting delegates in this organization. And so that is the thrust of the motion I'm making, simply that building organizations, one, have to exist if they're going to send any delegates to MGCA, which is fairly logical. If they don't exist, meaning that they don't have bylaws, they don't have meetings, they don't exist. They don't have elections, they don't exist. And anybody who claims to represent them is simply making a claim based on some other criteria. And these are the criteria I think that we ought to, as MGCA, set up. That you have a building organization, it has meetings, it has elections, and and fair elections, secret ballot elections that everybody gets a chance to vote in, and that the people who are elected then come and represent that building's interests and views in MGCA.
Okay.
And those fundamental criteria, I think, are essential to revive building organizations and to make MGCA a representative institution rather than an institution where people claim that it's representative, but it really isn't.
Thank you.
Yep.
Andrea, Louis, Linda, go ahead.
I think my first comment is that I resent the fact that buildings, this idea of claiming and not being representative. I speak as the chair of Building 2, and we had a fully democratic and open election, and that's how we operate. But I personally think that it makes sense to have some conformity in terms of who appears at the meeting as a voting delegate. I think, in my opinion, the MGCA bylaws should be updated to reflect that, not be 1997 bylaws, but it's impossible to update them unless there's a willingness amongst everyone to cooperate and do that. And if you're a voting delegate, I would like every delegate in each of the 6 buildings to be voted in with elections that have common rules. I personally, when you talk about representation, I'm sorry to say, but what happened in Building 5, I mean, I would have questions about that representation. So it would need to be conformed. I mean, buildings can have autonomy in terms of what they do, but in terms of being elected to vote as a delegate in MGCA, I strongly believe there should be common rules across the buildings. That's my opinion. So with that regard, I mean, I couldn't support this particular motion. I explained why.
John, then Louis.
I was second.
You're the
I
second.
think he was next.
What?
I think he was.
You're the second. Go ahead.
An attempt was made in Building 6, I believe, during the summer to create new bylaws and have a new election. However, apparently that has fallen apart. There appears to be no interest on anybody's part to do anything right now. So either you're going to have a situation where it's completely not represented, or you keep with the old representatives until something is done. But as I see it right now in Building 6, no one is making any moves toward having an election. That's the situation right now.
John, I'm sorry, no response. John.
Well, first off, I think it's been argued in many of these meetings, month after month after month, by some of the people who are actually supporting this, that it was made very clear to them, by them, that this committee has absolutely no say over what goes on in the building. Now, that includes whether the buildings meet or whether they don't meet. They don't have any say in it. And I believe it also says in the MGCA bylaws that very thing, that it is included in the bylaws. Now, I agree with Andrea 100%, that it's time that this organization had a consistent set of bylaws for the building, a consistent way of doing things, be that an election or whatever, being held in those buildings. They should be held at the same time. I agree on all those things. And I believe that Yvonne Martin actually had a committee when she was chairing this organization that had a representative, Sarah Ryan, who had a committee and formed all these rules and recommendations. And they were presented to this committee, of which most of the people who are sitting in here now did hear them. I didn't hear anyone stand up and say, well, you know, these are really good. I make a motion that we accept these. Didn't happen. The same thing happened when you tried to do changes to the bylaws of MGCA. And there was a fundamental movement started by Mrs. Levine and some of her followers to not accept this, and it was voted down. And so now we're presented with something which, from my point of view, creates more problems than it solves, because one, there's no way to enforce this. It's in conflict with your existing bylaws. And frankly, if you vote this in tonight, I would have to say that based on the last elections in Building 5, there would have to be at least one member sitting here tonight that would have to relinquish their post. And that's would be rather unfortunate. Now, I think that this is a valid topic. It deserves to be discussed. But until you come up with a solution to the conflict in your existing bylaws, you don't have any right to do this.
And
Excuse me. Marie, you're on my list. I think Linda is next.
Yes, and I think I speak for Yvonne and myself when I say this, and this is following up on John's. Robert, I also agree with you. You have many very good thoughts there. We, as a group, sat down and put together many of the things that you have in your resolution there, because we knew it had to be part of MGCA's bylaws in order for us to function, to carry out what you're talking about. We presented it to this group. Yvonne, was it a year and a half ago?
I think it's
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
It was March 2000.
Wait, we're talking about the bylaws.
The bylaw committee.
Amendments, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we looked at all, we looked at the MGCA bylaws.
That would be 3 years from March. March 3 years ago.
We had, we had 2 meetings. We came and we offered our suggestions, which included a lot of the things that you're talking about. We were asked to change or to supplement or rearrange. We went back. We worked again. This went on for months. We came back. What we thought included everything that you talked about, everybody that was at that meeting, that the suggestions. We came back and it was denied. Nobody voted for it. It was voted down. Joan Levine and a group of other people were very emphatic. I can mention other names here too, but they did not want it, and it had included almost everything that you've said here tonight.
Yes. And although the changes that were requested by those people, in fact, were
included.
We had an ad hoc.
She had been on the list.
We had bylaws. I was the next person. We had a bylaws committee, which was formed by former chairs and representatives of MGCA, who worked on the bylaws for almost a full year.
Exactly.
And it was exactly as John and Linda said. And then, in the last year that I was chairing, we had the ad hoc committee for trying to come up with a solution for building elections. And Sarah Ryan chaired it, and there were representatives from each building, and they came up with a great plan, and all it was a suggestion for the buildings to follow, because the buildings are autonomous. So by having a motion, as you state here, is really trying to override what the bylaws do. I don't think that even the board even can create a resolution that is in violation of the bylaws. We have to go by the bylaws, and the bylaws allow the buildings to choose their representatives in whatever manner. It's always been that way, in whatever manner that they wish. And some buildings in the last few years have created their own bylaws, and they have created a system of elections. They don't always follow them, even though they're in the bylaws, as we've recently seen. In any case, these things were brought to MGCA, and I'm sure MGCA should or would be willing to work on them again, but it should be the entire, as we had an ad hoc committee, it's up to the chair to form an ad hoc committee for the bylaws, for bylaws amendments. And also, I mean, the idea of having, resurrecting the hard work that Sarah Ryan and her committee did. I mean, if that was resurrected and the organization looks at it, I think she came up with a great plan. And of course, people could make suggestions if they don't think it's a great plan.
Marie and then Ellen. Marie?
I don't know where to start, but let me first say that the way that MGCA can influence buildings without having any power over them is by making its own rules for whom they accept as delegates. And we've had this issue before, where I certainly spoke in favor of a refusal to accept delegates who were not shareholders, because the building can have them as their officers, but MGCA does not have to accept them as delegates. So there is a way for MGCA to influence without precisely telling buildings what to do. I'd like to indicate that Building 5 has been trying since the spring to report on the progress that it has made in solving its own problem in what was admittedly an election that went wrong. And we have solved it. And every delegate who is here representing us was duly elected in a process that our building, in a building meeting, agreed to. The injured party agreed to, and the injured party is sitting here now as our delegate. So I would hope that we don't live with a reputation forever of violating our own bylaws. We acted in a way that our building meeting directed us to act. Thank you.
Ellen?
You know, some of these remarks that the buildings have sole control remind me, if you will, of the political battle between states' rights and the federal government, i.e. MGCA is the federal government and the buildings are the states. My only comment here is that, having been here, like many of you, a long time, is that such good information goes on here. Here, Larry broke his...
I broke it.
Let me finish. Cerebral cortex to come out with really great explanation of everything that went on. What's the problem? We are in a closed network. A closed network. The question that Andrea raised, and even John and Yvonne, is where does all the information go? So I would recommend that MGCA, through the president, appoint a committee, if you will, whoever is willing, to revisit the question of the building's elections.
Thank you. Let's see, who is Kevin?
No. Call the question?
No. Wait a minute, please.
Well, I just wanted to make a comment as a Building 5 chairman. No, I'm not, because I had my hand raised.
No, don't let people after you.
I don't think so.
Who's next?
I don't think so.
She's next.
I don't think so. I
Oh,
think
no.
she gave me a nod.
Okay, Mark?
Okay, so I'm not out
I
of
didn't know
order.
you were on the
Yeah,
list,
thank
Yvonne.
you. Thank
Go
you.
right ahead.
Marie, I respectfully disagree with you about the resolution of what happened in Building 5. I don't believe that what happened, the result was legitimate. The first election result was legitimate, and everything that happened after that was not legitimate. Our bylaws, building bylaws, do not call for a recount. And first of all, a recount that was done not at the behest of any candidate that thought that there was something wrong. It was done a week later. It wasn't called for, it wasn't announced, and it was done. As you well know, we don't have to go through the whole thing, except that it wasn't legitimate. And our bylaws don't allow for the building chair.
They do not deny it either.
Excuse me. Our bylaws don't allow for the building chair to make an arbitrary decision to hold another election, which, in fact, if there was going to be a runoff election between two questions and candidates in question, even that wouldn't have been right, but it would have made more sense than having an election, or an election just for 4 delegates. And I even question the motives for having a recount, because the reason was the count was so close. If you look at the numbers from the year before, the numbers were exactly the same. There was no call, no question for a recount when the vote came out, more or less 32 to 33. Everything that was done after the first election is illegitimate. It's not in our bylaws, and as I said, I don't think it was something that the chair should arbitrarily decide to do.
Okay,
I'm sorry,
thank you,
that's the way I
thank you.
feel.
Anyway, it doesn't get late. So,
Excuse me, but I have
excuse
been
me,
arbitrary.
what?
That is not true.
Would you let me finish a sentence, please?
No,
Would you let me finish a sentence, please?
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, there are a few more people here that ask to speak, and everyone can speak 1 minute, please, and then we are closing the discussion and we are voting. John.
I want to. I asked Tova for a copy of this. There was a note sent from Fernand Bogan to Tova about how she resolved the election in Building 5, which is very interesting, because I'm only going to say that this is. I just want to describe the movement here, not anything else. Marie ended up being appointed the chair of the building because Ann Bogan stepped down for health reasons. All right.
According to our bylaws.
Yeah, and I have your copy of your bylaws right here. It says that the chair or another elected officer becomes incapacitated or resigns. The officers committee may choose by majority vote, someone to replace them. That's fine. I have no problem with that. Okay? But then she goes on to resolve the Kevin situation by offering Irwin a seat, by giving Irwin a position as a delegate here, and by giving Kevin a position. Okay, so she eliminated.
Kevin won.
Kevin won the original election.
The second one too.
Okay.
He won both.
He won the second election.
Didn't win the
fine.
recount.
Okay.
He won the second election.
Not the recount.
He won the second election you had.
Not the recount.
He came ahead. You mean you had the second recount
Not
on the
the
second
recount.
one? On the second one you had the recount
Not the
total?
recount.
All right.
You had the recount on the second
Not
one?
the recount.
All right, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, I have no problem with that either. All right.
Okay.
But I'm reading this motion. I'm reading this motion that's presented tonight, and it says here that you want to establish the integrity of MGCA. You want MGCA to be representative and fair of everyone in the building. Okay? You do that by having an election. And the majority of people who vote, when they vote and they win, they expect to get the people that they voted for. That's what an election is.
Okay.
So I think that this, while this is a very interesting statement here, it's not very reflective of reality.
Okay. Now, it's 9:30. If someone wants a motion to extend it by 10 minutes, it's fine with me.
I make a motion to extend this meeting for at least 15 minutes.
Okay, can I check in?
Second.
All right.
I don't know
Everybody
why
that
we
is
moved
ready
this.
to extend the meeting by 15 minutes, please raise your hand. Okay, fine. Okay, I think we have it. Okay, the majority, I'm not counting it, but the majority is leaning forward. Okay, now, you can respond 1 minute and we are voting.
First, Madam Chair, much of what has been discussed, especially about Building 5, is not really relevant to my motion, and that it was allowed to be discussed, I find baffling. It is a motion that attempts to set standards. It doesn't dictate what the buildings do, but it attempts to, as Marie said, have MGCA set some standards for whom it accepts as a delegate. Now, there was an objection made that, there were statements made that, oh, well, we tried this before and it didn't work, and it was in the bylaw amendments that went down to defeat, and however that may be, that's not an issue here anymore. What's at issue is this: do we accept this or not? And what happened in the past may be instructive, and it is, but this is the topic at hand. And finally, the question of whether MGCA is going to set these standards or other standards, I am open, as I think we all are, to any other possible objection. But I do not believe that these violate the bylaws, as has been stated. No one has proposed, has presented the bylaws of MGCA and shown that this motion is in conflict with them. I looked at those bylaws and I would argue that it is not in conflict with them. And if you do vote for this motion, and it turns out that perhaps a committee finds them in conflict with the bylaws, then that motion would clearly not be valid. So it is not itself a question that we need to, or even, please, sit down. You're interrupting me. Erwin, please. This is not a question. The question of whether it violates the bylaws is not a question that you have to consider in your vote. The question is only whether this resolution makes sense and we should do it. We can settle the other issue later if in fact somebody judges that it is a
Okay, we are voting now. Who is for the motion?
Propose a friendly amendment.
I have no objection to I don't know how this is done.
I suggest we vote on his motion right now. It's been slapping since May. Let's vote it up or down, and then we'll take it from there. Who is for the motion brought by Robert Flash?
Would you repeat that in your own one sentence?
I should probably reread the motion as part of what is proper parliamentary procedure.
I cannot.
Just paraphrase it.
I can paraphrase it because it's his motion.
Okay.
It's in writing.
It's in
You
writing.
can't paraphrase
I
it.
know it's in writing.
That's what he gave us, and that's where we are voting.
Do you want to read it again?
Who is for Robert's motion? Please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Against? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay. 4 abstentions. Yes.
Abstentions?
1 abstention. Thank you, Mark.
No, there's not.
Yes.
May I propose an alternative motion?
I think if you want an alternative motion, you might want to send it to us for next meeting.
I will do that.
It's 9:35 now,
Motion to adjourn.
and I think we should adjourn.
Just, may I say one thing, everybody? You're gonna get a ballot. You're getting a ballot. to fix the bylaws. This is very, very important. This bylaw change will put us in compliance with New York Business Corporation law. And based on that change, we will then be able to function in terms of our bylaws and present bylaws to the shareholders if that's what the bylaws, if it gets changed, will be the process, okay? This is really important. If you don't want to vote for it, abstain. But we need a quorum. We need everyone voting to get a quorum.
And I'd like to clarify one thing, because it was brought to my attention as chair of the bylaws committee, current bylaws committee, that when we had our meeting, you all got this copy of what part of the ballot would look like. But there was a question. Some people seem to believe that MGCA would lose its right to send resolutions to the board, and that the board would be required to respond to them. That, if you look at this, I don't know, this is what someone came to me and said that there's a rumor going around. And if you look at, when you get your ballot, you're going to get a copy of the bylaws that will be changed, and what is going to be taken out, it has a strike through, okay? And you'll see in section B, okay, in section B in B of section 24, where it says response to official communications from organizations of tenant cooperators, nothing is struck out. Nothing is changing there. There's only one little reference to MGCA that needs changing, and that is that MGCA chair will no longer appoint members to the committee. So I just wanted to clarify that. And shareholders will still have the opportunity, 15% of shareholders can still call for a special meeting of the stockholders. And that is not being changed. That's not even one of the bylaws that is listed here. So if any of you who are the people who thought that there might be that change, I just wanted to make sure that, clarify that, and let you know that MGCA can still communicate with the board directly, and the board must acknowledge your communications.
And Sunday night, you should have received a letter signed by me and Yvonne, because it was sent just before the storm.
Yeah.
And it explains everything. It's,
Yeah.
I mean, we're not hiding anything. We've explained everything as clearly as anybody could possibly explain it. It's gonna make us in compliance with New York Business Corporation law, and then we can move forward. We can't move forward if this doesn't get changed.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Adjourn,
Great.
We adjourned it before I spoke.